Hi, all. It's good to be back. And from my perspective, I'm happy that the holidays and vacations, because of it, are behind me. Today is going to be a bit difficult for me. And I decided that these podcasts are important, but the reason they're difficult for me is each and every one of you is here because you know the program works. And we do things that we want when we know they will work. And I smile. The title of today's podcast is We Know What We Want, so why all the buts? And that's the other joke, because depending upon who we are, we're interested in the but or we're not. The key here is to understand that the moment I say but, I'm in trouble. Every single one of you has made a decision. And the decision that you made, and you've heard me before, you don't need to justify it. You said, I want to lose weight. It's very simple. It's very clear. And then it becomes complicated. And the reason it becomes complicated has nothing to do with anything that is separate or distinct from any other weight loss program that there is. All people who do weight loss programs want to lose weight. So I want to lose weight. Now, if I want to lose weight, built into my statement is the fact, whether I'm conscious enough or not, is the fact that once I made the decision to lose weight, I also made the decision to change my behavior. I could not do what I had been doing if, and that's where the word but comes in. I love you, but. Now the question I'm going to ask you is, if I say I love you, but do I love you? I contend that the moment I say but, my love for you is conditional. Now, let's reapply this to what's going on here. One of the biggest problems I have with these podcasts is that I don't have with you what I have in the office or by phone. I'm not interacting. You're not interacting with me. When I was a private psychologist, and I've told you this before, And I use the title of that television program, There Are 8 Million Stories in the Naked City, as my backstop. I couldn't possibly have the answer to 8 million stories in the naked city. It's impossible. So what is my role then as a psychologist, and what is my role with you here and now and these podcasts? The issue is to begin to get you to think, to interact. If you want to lose weight, fine. What's the problem? The problem is that my life experience is such that everything that goes on in my head comes together and confuses me to the point where I'm not certain that I have the right to say, I want to lose weight. You see, I want to keep it simple. I want to lose weight. Okay, fine. Here's a way to do it. And all of these things come up and intrude on my ability to do what I have to do to get what I said I wanted. To begin with, I committed to the fact that if I continued to live the way I had been living, I would not lose weight. How do I know? How many times have I tried? How many times have I not succeeded because of the fact that I did not make a commitment to myself? Now, we go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Do I love myself? What is loving myself? We've all agreed that if we're up in an airplane and something happens and the oxygen mask drops down, I should put mine on first so that I can deal better with anything and everything that goes on around me. And if I don't put mine on first, then what I'm saying is I'm not important enough to recognize my own abilities. I'm looking at the fact that can I, will I, could I deal? And so if I don't love myself, will I have enough love of me to change me? Now remember, if I want to lose weight, I have to change. I don't like change. It makes me uncomfortable. I'm not used to it. I can anticipate what's going to happen around the corner, but I really don't know. If I do this instead of doing that, how is it going to affect me? Now, what's important here is to recognize what I've said before. Patients would come into my office and they would say, "Doctor, I'm depressed, I'm anxious, I'm unhappy." There were 8 million reasons for them to come into the office. And here's the point. Although there were 8 million people coming into my office, they believed that I have the answer. I don't have the answer. You have the answer. And my job was to help you recognize that if you uncover the answer, your life is going to change. Let me give you just a simple example that has nothing to do with any of this. I want to lose weight. That person wants to lose weight. We both want the same thing. I believe that accurate weight loss is the way to go. They believe that something else is the way to go. Now, here's what's important. I know where I want to go. I know that the only way I can get where I want to go is if I change my behavior. I have a problem, though. And problem number one is changing my behavior makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm comfortable in doing it the way I have been doing it because it's a known commodity. I'm overweight. Do you recognize that I'm overweight? If I'm really overweight, you certainly do. I'm overweight. Do I recognize that I'm overweight? Of course I do. And now I say, I want to weigh less. Built into my statement is the fact that I've committed now to recognizing if I continue to behave the way I have been behaving, I will not achieve my goal. Now, I don't have to justify I want to lose weight. I'm an adult. I can do so. This podcast, and the reason we're here, is to interact and recognize what I learned as a therapist. And that is, you have to change your behavior. That comes first. Because whatever it is you're doing, if you continue to do what you're doing, you're never going to get what it is that you want. Problem. Number one, it makes me nervous because I don't know what's around the corner. And if I continue to do what I'm doing, I don't have to worry about what's around the corner. But if I continue to do what I'm doing, I know how it feels to be hopeless about, because hidden inside is the awareness on your part that if you do not change your behavior, you're not going to get what you want. So let's stop and recognize, and this is important, if I say I want to lose weight, it's absolutely something I'm permitted to say. Why? Because I'm me, and whatever it is I want is what I want. Now, here's my belief. My belief is I can't continue to do what I've been doing and get what it is that I want. So when I was a psychologist, people would come to me and think about it. I was a psychologist for over 50 years. For over 50 years, people came to see me and they wanted help. The majority of them were thinking that I had the answer. Now, here's number one, and this is important. I want to go to Chicago. You want to go to Chicago. This is how I want to go to Chicago. And this is how you want to go to Chicago. Both of us want the same thing. But each of us is doing it differently. Now we have a problem. And I see it all over. I see it especially in the society in which we live. If both of us are going to end up in the same place, why are we arguing which is better? And part of the reason is that I do not have enough confidence in myself to recognize what's going on. Now, let's stick together on this, because this week, my interaction with patients has been incredibly revealing. And I discovered something that's really important, at least important for me. I found that there was no difference in meeting face to face with people who wanted to lose weight as compared to those people whom I was their consultant, but on the phone. Some people believed that it was more impactful if we met together. The truth is that you have the answer. And here's the first but. And here's the problem with but. Every single time you say but, you're not being fully open and honest with yourself. Here's the simple of it. How many of you out there have no problem at all with recognizing and accepting that if you continue to behave the way you have been behaving, you will not achieve what it is you said you want? Simple as that. The moment I say I want to lose weight, I have to change my behavior. You have to change your behavior. Hi, Australia. Now stick with me. I have to change my behavior. Lesson number one. I don't need your approval. I'm going to say that again. I want to lose weight. I recognize I have to change my behavior. And it's irrelevant what you think. I cannot tell you how many times in my life, and you can do it yourself in your own, that you've wanted something, you've shared it with people, and the feedback that you got, for the most part, upset you. Now I'm going to go back and forth here because you've heard me say over and over and over again, you cannot be selfish if you don't have a self. You are the most important person in your life. I didn't say the most important person in the world. I said in your life, you are the most important person. And here we go. But what? You are the most important person in your life. And the but comes in, but you said that what I'm doing is foolish. Now, I can hear you. I can listen to you. But look where we started. I simply said I want to lose weight. You're now into, and that's part of the problem, the way I'm doing it in some way or other impacts on you. And we've all gone through this. And it makes no difference what it is, but we are focused on losing weight. And the only way we can lose weight, and it makes no difference how many times, and there's an old joke about that too, you have to do it again and again and again until it sinks in that you are the most important person in the equation. Today, I was talking to a woman, and she had a terrible week. And I said, what was terrible about the week? She said, people were making demands upon her. And the demands that they were making on her made it difficult for her to do what she wanted to do. She lost a half a pound, and she was very upset. And I said, why are you upset? She said, because I put them ahead of me. And I said, okay, let's stop and let me ask you a question. What about what you just said, putting them ahead of yourself, was problematic? And she said to me, I tried to do what I wanted to do for me. And every time I tried to do what I wanted to for me, I was hit with some feedback which said, I wanted you to do this and you're not doing it. And I was angry, I was upset, I disappointed them, or what? And I said, let me ask you a question. In terms of everything we're talking about here, did you lose a half a pound? And she said, yes. I said, how was it possible for you to lose a half a pound? And she said, I don't know. And I said, you didn't even give yourself any credit. Let's forget about them for a while. You did what you did, and you didn't lose what you think you should have, but you stayed in control. How does that feel? She says, not good. I said, why does it feel not good? She said, because I only lost half a pound. And I said, did you hear what you just said? In spite of all of the turmoil, in spite of everything that you're saying, you still lost a half a pound. How does that feel? Oh, yeah, that's good. Now, do you understand? And now the second part of the equation. She said to me then, everybody is happy when she does for them. They only recognize it when she doesn't do for them. And so she feels guilty and she does for them at her own expense. And I said, does it make a difference? And she said, well, what do you mean, does it make a difference? What would happen and what does happen when there's something they could do for themselves, but it's easier for you to do it for them, and you do it for them? And the only reason they don't see it is because they'd rather you do it for them than they do it for themselves. So what's the issue here? Now we're back. Do I see myself as the most important person in my life? And this is key. I am the most important person in my life. Now, what does that mean? That means when I get up in the morning, if I look in the mirror, I see someone who looks exactly like me. And if I'm thinking that I'm not the most important person in my life, then the reflection in that mirror is of a person who is not happy that they're not the most important person in their life. Because I don't know about you, but there are those days where I get up and I really like me. Those are terrific days, because this guy that I see in the mirror, he's following me around all day. And he's happy he's with me because I'm happy being me. And why are you not happy being you? Well, but see, here we go again. You are an adult. You are locked in by behaviors that are from your childhood. Your whole life experience brings you to where you are. See, I can't hide. The key here is you know the answer. Our job is to share amongst ourselves. But you have to recognize first that if you are not the most important person in your life is out of balance. And forget about why right now. We're not doing psychotherapy here. We're here because we want to be successful in our journey to weigh less. I bring in the psychological principles and stuff that we talk about, but let's be honest. Anything that happened in your past, you can't change. Good or bad, it is what it is. If you learn from it, and that's part of what we're here to do, but until we recognize our importance in our life. Remember what I said to you a couple of weeks ago about the day that I recognized that when I was a kid, just before World War II, and my mother gave me something to eat, and I didn't like it. And my mother said to me, you can't get up to the table until you finish that food because children in Europe are starving. And I don't know how many years it was, but I discovered something very interesting. What I discovered is I felt shame and guilt. I didn't have any idea. I felt shame and guilt. And I carried that shame and guilt until one day as an adult, I realized that whether I finished that food or not, it had no impact on whether those children in Europe were going to starve or not. So I had integrated into myself the shame and guilt, and I was putting on weight because I was ashamed to waste the food. Was I the most important person in my life? No. The children in Europe were more important than me. And I felt guilt and shame that the problem was having. I didn't do anything to help them. My eating or not eating didn't make a difference. The key here now is accept the fact that change makes you uncomfortable. Keep it simple. Uncomfortable means what? It means I'm not used to it. And because I'm not used to it, I'm not certain about things. And therefore, I don't like being uncomfortable. And when it comes to weight, it's a double whammy. Remember, we've been through it. Food will never lose its power. Within the first few hours of your life, you were fed. And you were fed because you fussed. And the being fed calmed you. It comforted you. And it's in here. Food, comfort. Uncomfortable. How do I get comfortable? Food. Who's in control? My past. Is it real? Yes. Can you change it? No. Who are you going to fight with to change it? Oh, I don't like doing that because, but I love you. And once I say I love you, there is nothing else. Now, if you know that I love you and you want to be with me, then no matter what you do, you're going to be loved. Now, let's bring it in. I love me. I am the most important person in my life. That means when I get up in the morning, I'm happy to be me. But I don't love me because I have been fed this stuff, like the children in Europe are starving, felt shame, felt guilt, etc. And therefore, and this is important, I'm going to do something that's not loving to me. Why? Because whatever happened to me in my lifetime happened. We are together here, and our goal is the same. One of the things I've shared with you is that in phase 2 of the program, stabilization, etc., each of us is going to create a process that we can live with. If it's not a process that you can live with, how long are you going to do it? For example, and we've been through this before, and we're going to go through it again and again and again, and some of you are going to shut me down. And you're going to shut me down because you say, I heard it before. But you're still here. So why are you going to shut me down? Because you think I have the answer. You have the answer. Let me help you find your answer. Or let's go back to this. This is the most incredible maintenance program in the entire world. Anybody who does that, what's on that sheet, is never going to have a weight problem. Wonderful, right? Stinks. And I'll tell you why. Question number 1. What is it? How many of you just, ooh, wow, I want it. It's the best in the world. But suppose it doesn't fit your lifestyle. How long is it before you're going to get up and say, why in heaven's name am I doing what Schwartz told me to do, even though it's the best in the world? It doesn't fit my lifestyle. And if it doesn't fit my lifestyle, you got it. It ain't going to work. Now we're back again to the same place. I am simply your facilitator. My biggest problem is we're not interacting. We're not raising questions. I don't care how you do it. If you get to Chicago this way and I get to Chicago this way, we both get to where we want to go. Now, you said to me that doing it my way is going to take longer than doing it your way. Okay. Now, I have a decision to make. And what I just made as a decision for me is I'm uncomfortable doing it your way. I'm comfortable doing it my way. I'm going to get where I want to go. I realize it's going to take me a little longer. And so now all I have to do is say to myself, does it bother me that it's going to take me a little longer to get to the same place that you're going to get? Now, if my answer is I'm more comfortable doing it because I'm getting what I want. Hear me? I'm getting what I want. Which goes back to the other thing that you hear me talk about all the time. You have never seen an adult truly having fun and not behaving as though they were a child. You have never, ever, ever seen an adult truly having fun who was not behaving as though they were a child. Each of you, and hopefully, thank God, because what would my life be like if there were not a boy inside me who didn't bring me that? Because he's a kid. Kids know nothing about nothing. They're learning. And that child self makes me laugh. Because sometimes he makes me do something or attempts to make me do something and cracks me up. I laugh. Why? He's part of me. That child is part of me. I'm the boss. But there are pieces that make me up. And one of the things that make me up is this child who lives within me. And because he's a child, he wants what he wants when he wants it. And did you ever notice anything about kids? It's a marvelous thing. They want what they want when they want it. I want it now. And now you give it to them. And it's done. Do you realize that? But it's not done. It's done for the moment until it wants something else. Now, there's a difference between I hear you and I agree I'm going to do it the way you want to do it. The child wants, stop. The child knows nothing. It wants what it wants when it wants it. I hear. And I recognize when I ignore it, and this is what's so important. When I ignore it, it goes on. I want, ignore it. I want, ignore it. I want, ignore it. I want, ignore. I can't handle it anymore. So I give in. But I missed out. I'm the adult. It's the child. It loves me. It's part of me. And it wants what it wants when it wants it because it's a child. And that's why it wants it. And you've heard me back it up to say, it's a day off from school. We put the child in the car. We're going to the zoo. Because school is closed, the parking lot is full. So we park 3 blocks away. And we get out of the car and we go around to the back because the child is sitting in the back, unbuckled, and you take the child's hand. Why? You're out in public. Who knows what could happen? And you take the child's hand because of the fact you want to protect it. Makes total sense. And the child sees something and says, let go. Now, you know darn well you're not going to let go because you're there to protect the child. But the child wants what it wants. And it can get problematic. And that's, I can't handle it anymore. But you hold on to that child's hand until you get into the park, to the zoo. Because in the zoo, it's safe. So I want you to answer the first part. I want. Rule number 1. Here, I want. Don't agree or disagree. Just stick with the word I want, which means I have to give. It's a child. It wants. I'm the adult. I understand it wants. But what it wants is not good. But it still wants. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it, and that's where the magic protocol comes in, because what the magic protocol does is upset the balance. I'm going to give you the I want, but I'm going to give you what's appropriate to give you, teaching you a new habit and a new behavior that's going to keep you safe and me safe. And that's what the magic protocol is all about. Changing my behavior through changing me in a loving kind of manner. Because when I give you, and in this case, either the Tic Tacs or the Dr. John's or some sugarless gum, I don't care what it is. The moment I give to you, I've broken the chain. Because it's not what you want, but it's caring and loving. You don't know it yet. And that's the key. You are a kid. You know nothing. You want what you want when you want it because you want what you want. You want what the heck do you know? That's why you want it. And I'm not saying it's bad or good. I'm saying that I, as the adult, recognize for me, and remember, you're a part of me, the kid. It can't be the boss because it doesn't know anything about life. So unless we talk about it, unless we interact, unless we learn what it means, what is self-love? Self-love, it's very interesting. How many of you suddenly realize that you don't love yourself because you don't know who you are? You got lost in this mess. Forget about it. why you got lost. I'm not doing psychotherapy with you, and you know I love psychotherapy. But because you've heard me say it again and again and again, my job in psychotherapy is to help you discover the answer, because you have the answer. You always have the answer. And even though the answer may not be clear, once you know the answer, who's the boss? You are. You can change your behavior, but not without awareness. And that's why I say to you, when we get together here, the issue here is to share our experiences. Because there's a piece of your behavior that I never thought of. Wow, what a difference it would make in my life. And there's something that I do or don't do that you now recognize because I never thought of it, and changes your life. And now you like you better because you're behaving in a manner that makes you feel better. Ooh, self is emerging. And what is self? That's why our new name, Accu Life. The you is in the middle. You're the center of everything. It's our habits that trap us. The guilt, the shame, I don't care what it is. It's there. And the more you recognize the power that you have over yourself, the better the answers. And I noticed something else, and it's really, really interesting. And that is, there are some people, and you've met them, and I've met them, and I'm going to call them narcissistic, which simply means they are in love with being in love with themselves. I'm the best in everything, and therefore I'm going to operate that way. All of them, and this is end up, and I've seen it time and time again, because they hit a wall at some point. And this aspect of them being in love with themselves has hidden all those issues in life that make us uncomfortable instead of dealing with them. Now, one step at a time. Here's a question I wrote for myself for today. How do you become worthy to make the change? Interesting. Because if I'm going to agree that I have to change in order to get what I want, which is to lose weight, but all these things that we've talked about have been in the way because I don't feel worthy or whatever, how do I make myself worthy? It's very simple. It's incredibly simple. And that's why I invented the magic protocol. You see, I recognize, and forget about how I came about it. I recognized that once I agreed that I had to change and made a change, it felt good. And so I tried it a second time. I don't remember what it was. But as I agreed that if I continued my old behavior, I would feel the way I was feeling, I would continue to feel what I was feeling because I didn't feel good. And I felt powerless and helpless. It was only in therapy that I realized that there were so many things inside that came together that caused me to continue to behave in a manner that made me unhappy. Sometimes I just throw things in because they pop up into my head. Do you know what it's like to be in 7th grade? They're choosing up sides for a baseball game. You, meaning me, are a learning disabled child who has issues, ADHD, and especially when tired, dyslexic. And they're choosing up games, baseball, and you're a left-handed pitcher who could throw a fastball and a curve. And some of the cool guys, they're choosing up teams, and the guy yells out, "I want the dummy." He wanted the dummy not because he liked me. It's because he wanted to win, and I could throw a fastball and a curve. But I'm chosen because I'm the dummy. You telling me it didn't impact on me? Of course it impacted on me. But because of my life experiences, I didn't forget it, but it's not controlling me any longer. I'm free because I realized, and that's what you're going to realize, how powerful you are if you begin to care and take care of yourself in a healthy manner. When I empty my plate now into the garbage can because I'm full, I smile because I recognize that I no longer feel shame and guilt. I may have been foolish in taking too much food, but I'm not going to stuff myself with it to avoid the children in Europe starving. This is important stuff for us. Now, some questions. I'm using almond milk. I haven't been taking any supplements, but someone told me I should be. Why? First of all, almond milk is a plant substitute that we're using on a milk day. Now, let's understand something. The Chinese were using, please forgive me, pig's milk. And one of the reasons Dr. Chu chose milk, and in the study, because he said, how do we know that cow's milk will work like pig's milk? So it's a milk day. The Chinese did not have cattle, by the way, and that's why they used pig's milk. Now, milk is our major source of amino acids, of protein, but the plant-based milk do not have those things, and they do not have something called conjugated linoleic acid. So if you're going to use a plant-based milk, you have to add in the supplements to make it equivalent to our regular milk days. It's critical. Basically, there is no nutrition in most of the plant-based milks. That's one of the reasons, for example, why we like Ripple milk. You still have to add the conjugated linoleic acid, but the Ripple milk is pea protein, a higher level, and protein and amino acids are critical in rebuilding cells in your life. At the beginning of my program, I was losing weight very quickly. Now I seem to be losing inches and not too much weight. Am I doing something wrong? Now, what this person missed altogether, and I discussed it with them, is number one, your weight loss has slowed, not arguing. One, are you continuing to lose inches? And two, and this is very important, have you factored in retention of water during the summer and the hormonal things involved? And once I pointed it out, the discomfort disappeared, the acceptance of the water weight was not any problem, and the patient continues on the program with a smile on their face. How should I decide what my goal weight should be? I can only tell you about me. I decided on my goal weight based upon my pants. When Dr. Chu had me do the program, in 3 months, I lost 84 pounds. And by the way, I want to tell you something. I hated the program. Why did I hate the program? Because in my head, I was not in control. It was in control. And I don't like being controlled because of all the stuff that has gone on in my life. And so I was angry with the program because I knew that if I did the program, I would be successful. And therefore, I gave up control in my mind. By the way, did I really give up control? No. To stay with the program, I didn't realize it until afterward, I had to be the boss. So I was the boss of me doing what I did, but angry because I was uncomfortable doing it. Talk to me. Questions. Questions. The more we talk, the more we grow. The more we grow, the more our life becomes better because we begin to like more and more the who that we are. And when we like the who that we are, we continue to do things that cause us to even like ourselves more and not in a narcissistic way. Thank you for being with me. I would love your comments, your questions, your advice, your suggestions how to make this better. And understand, I answer all questions. And if I don't have an answer, I will find one out. Thank you for being with us. Take care.